Take two. Hello, lovely squirrel squad on this Saturday evening. It's after 6 o'clock here. I swear the days get gone. Before I know it, it's nighttime again. And I haven't even been at fault, falling asleep while crocheting or knitting. All right, I'm going to jump back into chapter 14 of The Secret Garden. And I have someone asked me if I could make a playlist. I believe it's one of our new squirrels to the squad, and that's an excellent idea. So I did that for this book, and I need to go back and do that also for Tom Sawyer, for anybody who missed that also. Okay, Mary's talking. See here, she said, don't let us talk about dying. I don't like it. Let us talk about living. Let us talk about Dickon, and then we will look at your pictures. It was the best thing she could have said. To talk about Dickon meant to talk about the moor and the cottage and the 14 people who lived in it on 16 shillings a week. Can't imagine. And the children who got fat on the moor grass like the wild ponies, and about Dickon's mother, and the skipping rope, and the moor with the sun on it, and about pale green points sticking up out of the black sod. And it was all so alive that Mary talked more than she ever talked before, and Colin both talked and listened as he had never done either before. And they both began to laugh over nothing, as children will when they are happy together. And they laughed so that in the end they were making as much noise as if they had been two ordinary, healthy, natural 10-year-old creatures instead of a hard little unloving girl and a sickly boy who believed he was going to die. They enjoyed themselves so much that they forgot the pictures, and they forgot about the time. They'd been laughing quite loudly over Ben Weatherstaff and his robin, and Colin was actually sitting up as if he had forgotten about his weak back, when he suddenly remembered something. Do you know that there is one thing that we have never once thought of, he said. We are cousins. It seemed so queer that they had talked so much and never remembered this simple thing that they laughed more than ever, because they got into the humor to laugh at anything. Oops, back just a little bit so I could stretch my feet out a little more. There we go. Blah, 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 blah. More than ever because I got into the humor laughing. In the midst of the fun, the door opened and in walked Dr. Craven and Mr. Medlock. Dr. Craven started an actual alarm, and Mrs. Medlock almost fell back because he'd accidentally bumped into her. Good Lord, exclaimed poor Mrs. Medlock with her eyes almost starting out of her head. Good Lord! What is this? Said Dr. Craven, coming forward. What does it mean? When Mary was reminded of the boy Rajah again, Colin answered as if neither the doctor's alarm nor Mrs. Medlock's terror were of the slightest consequence. He was as little disturbed or frightened as if an elderly cat and dog had walked into the room. This is my cousin, Mary Lennox, he said, and I asked her to come and talk to me. I like her. She must come and talk to me whenever I send for her. Dr. Craven turned reproachfully to Mrs. Medlock. Oh, sir, she panted, I don't know how it's happened. There's not a servant on the place that dare to talk. They all have their orders. Nobody told her anything, said Colin. She heard me crying and found me herself. I'm glad she came. Don't be silly, Medlock. Mary saw that Dr. Craven did not look pleased, but it was quite plain that he dared not oppose his patient. He sat down by Colin and felt his pulse. "I'm afraid there's been too much excitement. Excitement is not good for you, my boy," he said. "I should be excited if she were kept away," answered Colin, his eyes beginning to look dangerously sparkling. "I'm better. She makes me better. The nurse must bring up her tea with mine. We will have tea together." Mrs. Medlock and Dr. Craven looked at each other in a troubled way, but there was evidently nothing to be done. "He does look rather better, sir," ventured Mrs. Medlock, "but thinking the matter over, he looked better this morning before she came into the room." "She came into the room last night. She stayed with me a long time. She sang a Hindu song to me, and it made me go to sleep," said Colin. "I was better when I wakened up. I wanted my breakfast. I want my tea now. Tell Nurse Medlock." Dr. Craven didn't stay very long. He talked to the nurse for a few minutes when she came into the room and said a few words of warning to Colin. He must not talk too much. He must not forget that he was ill. He must not forget that he was very easily tired. Mary thought that there seemed to be a number of uncomfortable things he was not to forget. Excuse me. Every time I get home, my nose starts. It must be all the fibers in the room. Colin looked fretful. Need my drink in here. This goo down in my drainage. Looked fretful and kept his strange black-lashed eyes fixed on Dr. Craven's face. "I want to forget it," he said at last. "She makes me forget it. That's why I want her." Dr. Craven did not look unhappy when he left the room. He gave a puzzled glance at the little girl sitting on the large stool. She had become a stiff, silent child again as soon as he entered, and he could not see what the attraction was. The boy actually did look brighter, however, and he sighed rather heavily as he went down the corridor. "They're always wanting me to eat things when I don't want to," said Colin, as the nurse brought in the tea, and I put it on the table by the sofa. "Now, if you'll eat, I'll eat. Those muffins look so nice and hot. Tell me about Rajas." That's all of the long chapter 14. Let's look at 15. I'm so sleepy again, you guys. Went to bed late again last night. Good grief, this is another long chapter. Ooh, why do they have to be so long? And I would be glad to read just as long as my voice would hold out, except for this sinus drainage and sleepiness. When my letters start closing in. So I'm not sure how much I'll get read, but I'll start. Chapter 15 is called Nest Building. After another week of rain, the high arc of blue sky appeared again, and the sun which poured down was quite hot. Though there had been no chance to see either the secret garden or Dickon, Mistress Mary had enjoyed herself very much. The week had not seemed long. She had spent hours of every day with Colin in his room, talking about Rajas or gardens or Dickon and the cottage on the moor. They had looked at the splendid books and pictures, and sometimes Mary had read things to Colin, and sometimes he had read a little to her. When he was amused, and interested, she thought he scarcely looked like an invalid at all, except that his face was so colorless, and he was always on the sofa. "You're a sly young one to listen and get out of your bed and go follow things up like you did that night," Miss Medlock said once. "But there's no saying it's not been a sort of blessing to the lot of us. He's not had a tantrum or a whining fit since you made friends. The nurse was just going to give up the case because she was so sick of him, but she says she doesn't mind staying now you've gone on duty with her," laughing a little. In her talks with Colin, Mary had tried to be very cautious about the secret garden. There were certain things she wanted to find out from him, but she felt that she must find them out without asking him direct questions. In the first place, as she began to like to be with him, she wanted to discover whether he was the kind of boy you could tell a secret to. He was not the least like Dickon, but he was evidently so upset, I'll say. Wait a minute. I've lost my spot again. Oh, y'all, I'm just so sleepy I can't keep up. Let's see. At least, thought perhaps he could be trusted, but she, She wanted to discover whether he was like the kind of boy you could tell a secret to. He was not in the least like Dickon, but he was evidently so pleased with the idea of a garden. No one knew anything about that. She thought perhaps he could be trusted, but she had not known him long enough to be sure. The second thing she wanted to find out was this: if he could be trusted, if he really could be, wouldn't it be possible to take him to the garden without having anyone find it out? The grand doctor had said that he must have fresh air, and Colin would said he would not mind fresh air in a secret garden. Perhaps if he had a great deal of fresh air and knew Dickon and the robin and saw things growing, he might not think so much about dying. Mary had seen herself in the glass sometimes lately when she realized that she looked quite a different creature from the child she had been when she arrived from India. Cut something on it, I didn't mean to. From India. This child looked nicer. Even Martha had seen a change in her. "The air from the moor has done thee good already," she said. "That's not nigh so yeller. Thy's not nigh so yeller, and thy's not nigh so scrawny. Even the hair doesn't slant down on the head so flat." Slant. "It's got some life in it, so it sticks out a bit." "It's like me," said Mary. "It's growing stronger and fatter. I'm sure there's always more of it." "It looks for sure," said Martha, ruffling it up around her face. "That's not half so ugly when it's that way, and there's a little bit of red in thy cheeks. If gardens and rich air had been good for her, perhaps they would be good for Colin. But then, if he hated people to look at him, perhaps he would not like to see Dickon. Why does it make you angry when you are looked at?" she inquired one day. "I always hated it," he answered, "even when I was very little. Then when they took me to the seaside and I used to lie in my carriage, everybody used to stare, and ladies would stop and talk to my nurse, and then they would begin to whisper, and I knew what they were saying. I shouldn't be live to grow up. Then sometimes the ladies would pat my cheeks and say, "Poor child." Once when a lady did that, I screamed out loud and bit her hand. She was so frightened she ran away. "She thought you had gone mad like a dog," said Mary, not at all admiringly. "I don't care what she thought," said Colin, frowning. "I wonder why you did scream and bite me. Why you didn't scream and bite me when I came into your room," said Mary. Let's see. "And bite me when I came into your room," said Mary. Then she began to smile slowly. "I thought you were a ghost or a dream," he said. "You can't bite a ghost or a dream. And if you scream, they don't care." And y'all, I'm going to have to stop right there. Realize how sleepy I was. Woo! I can't get any stitching done. I believe I'm going to have to go to the doctor and get this old blood checked. Oh, like I said, if it's not one thing, it's 10. I still got the critter, I guess. I hope Opie has not passed. I felt bad, put a little food inside the cabinet so he could get to it. Not a lot, just a little bit, to try to entice him to come out. I don't want to kill the little feller. I just want him to come out. This ain't a Hotel Granny suite. Get a suite at Hotel Granny. I love y'all. I truly do. Each and every one of you, and I hope you know it. I really do. And I love that little Katarina, my number one subby. And love to the manager and her family, and Andrea, my middle daughter, Hannah, my youngest daughter, and their menfolk. And so far as Andrea, I still haven't heard anything else. I figure no news is good news. I'm tired of asking everybody, nobody getting back to me, so I guess they'll let me know if they want me to know. Praying for all of you who need prayers, and be sweet. Don't be ugly. Same for me. Love you much. Oh, see you tonight at 9 for a live, 9 Eastern. If you can make it, come on. If you miss me, you can always watch the replay, but that's not near as much fun as being here with us. I'll probably be in here, and I hope I can stay awake. hope I don't sleep through it. If I don't come on at 9, some of my buddies know how to text me, message me. Please do that. Or any of you that can use Facebook Messenger. I believe that's all I have. See you tonight. Oh, I know what I was going to say. If you can't come tonight, next week, remember my times are Monday, Wednesday, and they've changed to Saturday. And also the time has changed. We're not 5 anymore. We're not live at 5. We are fine at 9. How about that? Oh, gracious. See you later, loves.